some facts have been revealed, but it's global review time. Let's move away from Nigeria and all the stories that are coming out from it. I know a lot of people are now on social media just giving their reactions from that press conference from former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. But now let's go to the United States of America. For those who do not know, the U.S. Is facing a first ever ousting of its Speaker of the House. Yes. Speaker McCarthy has been removed as U.S. Speaker in an unprecedented vote. I'll give you some background. So right now, in the Nigerian way or in the Nigerian parlance, they're speakerless. You know, they do not have a speaker. But my guest is joining me from Europe right now. He is a geopolitical strategist. Pyotr Kurzin is a very good friend of mine. I've listened to him talk so many times, and I'm so happy to have him here to talk about America and what they're facing today. Pyotr, it's so good to have you join us.
Yeah, I'm delighted to be on. I am a bit, I don't think Americans, if they hear a Brit talking about America, will be very happy about that. But
please.
Delighted to be on your show. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Pyotr. So for a lot of Nigerians, they'd be wondering what would make a house that's got majority of Republicans oust its own member as a speaker. What exactly do you think happened there? Give us a background, please.
Yeah, so for context, I lived in DC for about 5 years. I did a little bit of work and directly engage in Congress. So there's two parts of Congress. There's the Senate, the senior, and then the House of Representatives.
Yes.
All the crises happened in the House of Representatives, where the chap called Kevin McCarthy. He is a Republican. He is a moderate Republican. So he's not hardcore right. He's not, he's trying to find ways to work with the Democrats, the other main party, of which Biden is obviously from. The Republicans control the House of Representatives, or the House, I'll just call it from now, and the Democrats support the Senate. So basically, the past few weeks has been bad for US policy making. I mean, everything's quite bad, let's be honest, but it was particularly bad because in American politics, you have what's known as a shutdown. Basically, if the government isn't able to agree, specifically the Congress can't agree on legislation, extending things like financing for the government, for the federal government specifically, the federal government will shut down. So Washington, things like agencies, that work across the city and the country will shut down. States are not affected. So Congress people who represent their states. So, Texas will continue to function. You just won't have federal funding or people working. So basically, there was this scare that a shutdown was going to happen earlier this week. And McCarthy was working very, very, very hard with the Democrats and others to get a deal through. They got that deal through. And then less than, half a day later, 4 or 5 hours, 8 hours later, Matt Gaetz. So Matt Gaetz is another member of the Republican Party, but he's much more right wing. He supports Trump. He's America first. He is the right wing part of the GOP or Republicans, and he put in what is called a motion to vacate. Motion to vacate is an opportunity to get that speaker. So McCarthy is the speaker out of the House, and this is the first time it succeeded. It's been done in the past, a couple of times in the past 100 years, but this is the very first time in US history that this has happened. So basically, McCarthy was kicked out. The Democrats voted alongside these 8 very hardcore Republicans to kick him out. The final vote was 216 to 210. All of the other Republicans voted to keep McCarthy. So now we are in a situation where there is no speaker. The McCarthy's not running. We have.
I heard that he said he was not going to put in again for another.
No, he's not running. So now other people are being like, who can run? And what's interesting is anybody can technically run. You don't have to actually be a politician to be a Speaker of the House. So immediately, GOP members are like Trump. So now
no.
everyone wants. Yeah. So Trump is being pushed. Someone suggested Elon Musk. Someone else has suggested Andrew Tate. I think. I don't know.
Oh my God, that's ridiculous.
I don't know even if he's an American citizen. You know what people are like.
Andrew's British, isn't he? So. I don't know. Well,
yeah, he's British citizen. So now, and it's not. I'll pass back to you fully with just this last point, which is that now we have a problem, which is that the deal that was struck to avoid shutdown only goes until mid-November. So we've only got about 40 days until this whole situation is back.
Yeah.
So the House, the government, the House is not working. It's shut down for a week.
Yeah.
So now no policy, no legislation is being discussed. So basically, next Wednesday, the House will hold a vote to replace McCarthy.
Mm-hmm.
But until that, no legislation is put forward. Then you've got to bring the Speaker up to pace, get him familiarized, get him on the sides. So basically, we could be in another position in about 5 weeks' time. Maybe I'll be back here talking about the US government shutdown with you, where there is no, where the whole government
goes on a holiday.
Yeah, basically.
Well, but let's really quickly look at that whole situation. But let's go back to McCarthy. Could it be that? I mean, because we see that a lot of Democrats supported in that vote to make it, get to that number, for them to get that number. A couple of Republicans wanted him to stay, but more Democrats supported that vote. Could it also be that he had not had a great relationship or a great run in the Congress?
Well, he didn't. I will remind your listeners, if they pay any attention to American politics, cast your mind back to February of this year. Mm-hmm. Every day there was yet another McCarthy's been ousted in another round. Basically, in January, McCarthy was running to be Speaker after the midterms in late 22, so about this time last year.
Yeah.
And he was losing. He lost 15 times. So we have broken 2 records in American politics in 2023. The longest amount of time and rounds needed to elect a Speaker, 15, and now that Speaker has been removed. So McCarthy did not have a strong base. Actually, interestingly, the only reason he got elected as Speaker was because he agreed to this, to being able to be voted out through this very motion. So Matt Gaetz finally actually took what he was threatening to do several times through the year and did it. So McCarthy was never that popular with both sides, a particularly strong part of the GOP.
Now, I want to marry it with what we have here in Nigeria. Now, in Nigeria, the politics is totally different. What you have, yes, of course, the majority will carry the day, but then we've heard also stories about the fact that, there might be an impeachment for our Senate president, but it never really does happen. There's always that whole, well, the government at the center holds, either the lower and in fact, they hold both houses. So if the president is a Republican, I mean, all Republicans are going to be the majority in the House and, of course, in the Senate. And for Nigerians, what exactly can we learn? What was really democratic about the ousting of McCarthy? And what can Nigerians draw from that?
Well, I look at it slightly ironically, actually. I mean, it's a question. It's a tough question because I'm limited. I followed obviously Tinubu and Obi and the whole Nigerian election later this year, but I'm not fully familiar with the comparison of the two. I believe Nigeria has a presidential representative democracy.
Yes,
I think So it's a slightly different to the US, but similar in the sense of you've got a president and then and the UK it's a parliamentary democracy. What I would say is that in one way, it's good. Well, it shows that if people want to get rid of someone, there is a democratic way to do that, right? So Matt Gaetz went through a democratic process of right, we don't want you in here anymore, and more people voted for him to sod off. So he left. Is it good for the overall performance and stability of US government? No, it's not, because it risks dysfunctionality. It risks nothing happening. It risks a shutdown. So on the one hand, it's sort of like, well, if you want to get rid of the thing, you want to be democratically picked, yes. But on the other hand, because it was all bad in the first place, it's not great either. So for me, what I would say Nigerians and, anyone given what's happening with the Sahel at the moment. You know, it's not just about the individual, it's about the system as a whole. One of the biggest problems that I think Americans don't appreciate is that they have a situation where they only have two parties that can ever be chosen from. In Nigeria, you know, you have two main people who were thinking of running, but then suddenly you got Peter Obi coming through, and he was really popular with a lot of the youth in Nigeria. Many people saw him as a breakaway from the stagnant, elitist kind of
political party. Yes.
Yeah. So in that regard, Nigeria has a slightly more flexible democracy. You know, you've actually got the opportunity to see change. And given your country's democracy is 25 years old, you know, you've seen sizable change and hopefully for the better, right? You know, it's solidified. In America, because you've got this very restrictive first past the post, so two main parties, it's the same in Britain. People feel unrepresented. And so they lose overall more faith in the policies in the government. American belief in not just Congress or the House, in the whole US government is at a historic low. So not only in the US do you have polarization, so people are on the edges, far left, far right, they are also paralysis. Nothing's happening. And we can see this happening across other parts of Europe as well. So I would just say to Nigeria, you know, it's not just you guys who are frustrated with the current status of democracy. It's happening everywhere, unfortunately, and that's because we've got this ongoing battle between countries that want more centralized control and countries that want to be democratic. You know, look at Slovakia. Very last point. They just had an election over the weekend, and the person who was voted in, his party, it's very pro-Russian. Now, some of the audience may support Russia. They may support Ukraine. But from a democratic point of view, this guy is firmly against NATO. He's firmly against the EU. And that undermines democracy in Europe, potentially. So we've got this whole situation is happening everywhere,
it's
including
spreading.
in Europe and Africa as well.
Interestingly, I just wanted to take you back. In Nigeria, we have a speaker and a deputy speaker. So if the speaker is off, then the deputy steps in. Is that the case in the US Congress?
Yeah. So basically, the one ability McCarthy has after he's ousted, is he gets to pick the interim speaker. So now they have an interim speaker called Patrick. I forget his surname, but he basically his first and only action was to shut down or whatever, stop all policy and legislation, negotiations, discussions for the week. So nothing's happening in the House now, and basically because nothing happens in the House, nothing can happen in the Senate because it has to go upwards. So the US is similar to Nigeria. You've got the judicial branch, so the Supreme Court. You've got the executive, so the White House, and then you've got the Congress or the
that's the Parliament. Yes.
So it's the Parliament. So it's shut down. Parliament is shut down.
So you're telling me that there's no business. So without the Congress, nothing's really happening. No policies are going to go through until next week, Wednesday, when they get to pick a new person who's going to run as speaker.
That's not any guarantee. So basically, to be more specific, next Tuesday, the Republican Party will meet for a closed door meeting. Basically, they're giving it a week for people to express interest. There's a chap called Jim Jordan who has been named as one of the front runners. He's basically a worshipper of Trump. So imagine Trump. Jim Jordan will follow much of those kind of American policies. He'll be much more appealing to the hard right part of the GOP, but it doesn't necessarily mean that he'll win. So it's not a case of Wednesday, doors open, business as usual. You've got to pick that speaker. And if he's not popular with the entire House, then we might go through another 15 rounds.
The whole process again. Oh,
yeah, sorry. And so that's the point. If a decision and a speaker can't be chosen, then this could go on and on and on into the whole of October. And then suddenly we're on government shutdown again, looming. That deadline is looming. So it's not good from a sort of, just getting things going again.
Quickly, I saw a story of Nancy Pelosi saying that she's been butted out of her private office. What's that about? I mean, she's the former speaker.
Yeah, I saw this on X, Twitter as well. Basically, Nancy Pelosi was she's one of the longest standing members of Congress. She's a very hardcore Democrat, like liberal Democrat, very left wing, or pretty left wing, I think. Maybe not Bernie Sanders level. And she basically has kept this office out of because of her legacy. She's like, what, in her 80s? So out of respect, McCarthy, I think, or whoever it was making those decisions, basically said, you can keep that office, you can, symbolically. And now, because he's gone, the harder right people are like, no, you can bugger off now, Pelosi. So basically just had to vacate her office. And it's just petty bipartisan politics, the two sides fighting. It's infighting, it's short-termism, it's self-interests over the collective interest of the country functioning. This is why people are fed up with politicians, or those who pretend to be for the people and they're not. So it's just typical infighting. It's what I'm sure happens in, unfortunately, Nigeria as well.
I just wanted to say that because you just mentioned something that Nigerians always complain about, that leaders who say, hey, vote for me, I'm going to do this for you, half the time they're not necessarily for the people. So yet another thing for Nigerians to look at and say, well, we're not on our own, because again, for us, America seems to be the poster child for what we would call a true democracy. But when things like this happen, I mean, what happens to us? Where do we all just feel like, oh wow, if America is having these problems, then of course we're all the same, we're all human. Go ahead.
No, I could talk about this for hours. So maybe you can ask me a more specific question and I'll just answer that. It's very I'm very concerned by the direction that we're heading, and I understand and empathize with some of your listeners, or maybe all of your listeners, who worry about the status of democracy and the direction that it's going. Nigeria is the giant of Africa. It's one of the largest populations in the world. It's going to be a powerhouse of the world as well. And, look at what's happening around you with the coups, with the counter coups, the withdrawal of American influence, if you want that, Western influence, democratic influence. I would say it very simply, which is from an African perspective, and this comes from someone who's lived there as well, however briefly, but, America has been pretty neglectful, I think, of the continent. And China, Russia, if you want to get into the great power politics of it and how they influence the way that countries are developing, or what kind of government model, right? China wants to push their model, America wants to push their model, Russia wants to push their model. America has held only 2 African summits in the past 8 years, Africa-American summits, where African leaders from leaders, whatever it is.
Pyotr, I'm gonna stop you. We're going to go for a quick break, and when we come back, I want to ask, because you see,
go ahead.
I'm of the school of thought that America has American problems. Why do they have to bother about Africa? But hold that thought. When we come back from this break, Pyotr Kurzin is a geopolitical strategist, and he's joining us on Global Review. Stay with us.
It's 2-minute story time with Auntie Norma.
Hello, it's me, Auntie Norma, again on 2-Minute Stories. Giant continues his adventures in search of his name. I continue reading. The following morning, he was on his way again. Giant strode along with his bag and his stick down the southern road to the treasure base. At last, he met a group of men in uniform and wearing helmets. They looked like oil refinery workers going to their site. One of them called, "How may we help you? I need to know my name. Please, can you help me?" replied Giant. "Tell us one thing you remember about yourself." Giant thought for a while and then said, "We always had different groups of people visiting us when I was growing up. It was fun." "Then you must go over to Anambra State," smiled another worker. "It's home for all." And with that, he was off on his journey in search of himself. Soon, the clouds began to gather. As the blue sky turned to grey, Giant felt a drop of rain on his body, and then another. He walked faster and faster and continued along the road. There, he found a cave just in time as the pitter-patter of rain gave way to a torrential downpour. Giant was happy to find shelter inside Ogbunike Cave here. When the thunderstorm was over, a bus carrying passengers arrived at the cave. Giant asked them, "Please, can you help me find out who I am?" "Well, we're just tourists," replied one of them. "But your bag is shaped like a food basket. Why don't you go over to Benue State and find out?" "Oh, wow, really?" exclaimed Giant joyfully. He was beginning to feel hungry now, and the thought of food made him feel happy. Yes, time to head in that direction, the bus driver pointing the way. With that, Giant sprung along with his bag and his stick. He continued. And we continue our story. Nigeria Hodgepodge tomorrow, shall we?
The streets are the life of every city. When the streets sleep, the city sleeps.
These put the life in the streets. Music, soccer, fashion.
And at the heart of it all, food. Let's vibe together at the Street Food Fest. Going down on the 2nd of October at Muri-Okwala Park. Featuring Generational Music Showdown, 250,000 Naira Street Soccer Challenge, 100,000 Naira Best Dress Retro Style Outfit, free medical checks, and lots more. Time is 12 noon till Mama calls.
Get your tickets at www.tix.africa/SFF is back or visit events.nairabox.com.
Street Foods Fest is brought to you by Food Bay TV, refreshed by Peak Yogurt, sponsored by Golden Penny, LG, FCMB, Devon Kings, Calypso, supported by HBS, Indulge Rentals, and Prism Healthcare. Media partners Cool FM, Nigeria Info, Wazobia.
Here's a 7-Up Afrobeat vibe test. All you need to do is complete these lines. Next.
If you call a woman, African woman, no go agree. She go say.
And the last one.
Tell me what him then they call her.
If you got all three right, then your 7-Up Afrobeat vibe check is on point. And you should come celebrate the legacy of Fela and Anikulapo Kuti at the Felabration this year from the 9th to the 15th of October. Follow 7-Up Nigeria on social media for more info. 7-Up, the diff is clear.
Hey, my people, how na day? We know the times still hard, but higher Temocool don't day for Nigerians them. What a reliable fridge, freezer, or any other appliances. So
higher Temocool day for you.
What an option where the last kakaraka.
Higher Temocool day for you.
What an appliance when they consume too much electricity.
Higher Temocool day for you.
And now, higher Temocool don't land with another promo. What them call?
We day for you.
From the 15th of August, go to 31st October. If you buy anything for higher Temocool, them go summer you a woof on top. Hi! Free standing cooker, free microwave, free air fryer, free AC installation, and even more woof day. For more Tori, visit any authorized dealer or www.tamocool.com.ng. Make yourself begin enjoy your own woof. Terms and conditions there too. Higher Temocool, always there for you.
When you're in 9 Mobile, Nigeria's own network, you get rewarded for asking for more. So whenever you need more data to stream your favorite movies and music, or to play the latest blockbuster games, 9 Mobile has got you covered with 8 GB for just 1,500 Naira, 9.5 GB for 2,000 Naira, and many more. So join 9 Mobile now or dial *301# to choose any of our reliable and affordable plans to express yourself freely on Nigeria's confirmed network. 9 Mobile, here for you, here for Nigeria.
Is free. Dates Saturday 14th October 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Radisson Blue Anchorage Hotel, Ozumbambadiwe, Victoria Island. Sunday October 15th 10:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Radisson Hotel, former Protea, Isaac John, GRA Ikeja. For more information, telephone 0818-000-0500. Don't miss this event. ALTS.
Get in on the action with Betano, your exciting destination for thrilling sports betting. Enjoy an award-winning experience with amazing betting options, cash out, and missions, as well as other features. Join now and get a welcome bonus of up to 100,000 Naira. Betano.ng. The game starts now.
Patronize made in Nigeria goods.
Don't be told, be there to experience the 2023 edition of the Made in Nigeria Product Exhibition organized by the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. Theme: setting the agenda for competitive manufacturing under the AFCFTA, what Nigeria needs to do. The expo holds at Lagos Oriental Hotel, Victoria Island, Lagos. Dates: October 17, 18 and 19, 2023. Time 9 a.m. daily. For inquiries, please call 0703 271 7175 or 0906 287 4854. Attendance is free. Come and patronize Made in Nigeria products. This message is powered by the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, MAN.
Oh yeah, bye bye, made in Nigeria.
Us moms, we never have enough time. So when my family's day starts, I make Quaker 3-in-1 oats in an instant to get them started. It's quick 3-in-1 goodness. You just add hot water and it's ready in 2 minutes. Yes, so just add water. Quaker 3-in-1 instant oats has milk and sugar and comes in 300 grams and 50 grams. So make sure Quaker Oats 3-in-1 instant oats is on your shopping list today. Quaker goodness, now quicker.
Quaker Oats is an amazing start to your day.
The word is out. From the glistening beaches to the glamorous city streets. The Real Housewives of Lagos Season 2 is here. Your favorites, Chioma, Iyabo, Laura, Mariam, and Tony, return to bring you even more charm, style, and drama. From 1,000 to
I just buy airtime, credit, and data straight from my bank account. Thanks to Glow e-Top Up.
The same Glow e-Top Up?
Yes, now. Easy top up directly from my bank account. No stress, no wahala.
So, you mean say person no need worry about not having cash?
At all. If you don't get cash, you don't get wahala. You are welcome to cashless recharge on the go, anytime, anywhere.
Buy data and airtime directly from your bank account with Glow eTop Up. It is easy, quick, and available on your mobile apps, ATMs, websites, leading retailers, and Glow World shops. Or download Glow Cafe app to top up, or dial *777#.
Glow Unlimited.
This house will implement spending cuts on household essentials. First, cable subscription from premium to standard.
Aye.
Now, 3 crowns milk from...
Don't touch our 3 crowns milk, oh.
Why?
Mom sacrifices a lot, and 3 crowns milk nourishes Mom so that she can support our family.
Moms are our treasures beyond measure. So treasure Mom with low cholesterol 3 crowns milk today. 3 crowns milk. Healthy moms, happy families.
450k? How could I have spent 450,000 naira on fuel in 1 month? At this rate, I wonder how much I'll be worth at the end of the year.
Can you relate? Are you wondering what your current net worth in the face of multiple debit alerts, or thinking of how to make money work for you in this current economy? Then relax, because the Net Worth Calculator by Solam Consulting, your financial companion, is here. With Solam's Net Worth Calculator, you can instantly generate your net worth online, and our trusted experts can use the results to guide you towards your financial success. Are you ready for financial freedom? Head strategy to make the choices. For more details and the
ball match at school today, but looks tired already, wearing his boots slowly, like someone turned down our playback speed.
But with Golden Penny Choco, he eventually comes alive. Now Junior is back on his feet to take on his day. Cause I make breakfast time, Choco time.
Golden Penny Choco for everyday energy.
My guy, you don't hear the latest gist? Within the saw, BetKing don't increase their accumulator bonus from 225% to 300%. Bro, you too late. I don't they cash out already. Guy, now. Yes, so who don't like better thing? Yes, so visit betking.com to enjoy 300% accumulator bonus on top your game. We pay what we say, not be mouth.
That feeling
That's Pet King.
Panasonic air conditioner. We care about the food we eat. We care about the water we drink. But do we care about the air we breathe? With Panasonic U-Series air conditioners featuring the latest NanoWave X technology, you can breathe clean and fresh air while enjoying the best cooling performance. Panasonic is available at all Panaserve showrooms and all leading electronic stores in Nigeria. Panaserve showrooms are located at Lekki, Victoria Island, Ikeja, Enugu, Kano, Port Harcourt, and Abuja. Panaserve showroom is at Admiralty, Lekki, Allen, Ikeja, and Muriokwala, Victoria Island. Panasonic air conditioners, quality air for life.
When you've got that Super Commando energy at this year's Celebration, you feel everything from the drums to the
Commando on all social media platforms for more info. Super Commando Energy Drink. Fire on!
99.3 Nigeria Info.
Your number one station for talk. Let's talk.
Welcome back to Hard Facts.
Are you ambitious to earn above 500,000 and willing to take your career to the next level? Do you have a car and ready to start a new career work in an American company? Then this is an opportunity for you. An American company in Lekki is recruiting managerial position. Kindly send your resume and application letter to jobs.kyavelia@gmail.com. That is jobs.kyavelia@gmail.com, or call 081 57050505, 081 57050505, or 09062820052, 09062820052 to book for an interview.
All right, thank you very much, Kemi. Well, it's still I almost said it's Geopolitics. Well, it's still Global Review, and it's Hard Facts. And of course, my guest is a geopolitics strategist. Pyotr Kurzin is still here with us. Pyotr, before we went on that break, Lagos, we're talking about the fact that the U.S., for the first time in maybe 100 years, does not have a Speaker of the House, and that's because he was ousted. And now, in a few days, they have to... Well, the Republican Party on the floor of the House are going to have to pick a new speaker. Now, most people will call it a Democratic move because it was not just the Republicans that were able to oust him. The Democrats were part of the process. And so for some other people, they don't think that this was a wise decision. But then it did happen. And many people are asking, who's next? I mean, I've heard the craziest thing. Pyotr said, some people said Elon Musk should be the next speaker. Some are even saying Donald Trump, who's trying to run for president again, should be the speaker. But of course, next week, Tuesday or Wednesday, we'll get to find out what or who that will be. But right now, we're talking about, U.S.-Africa, U.S.-Nigeria relationship. But let's talk about the U.S.-Africa relationship that you and I were talking about before we went on that break. And you're saying that there's only been two U.S.-Africa summits held in, a long time. But I'm asking, because I'm also of the opinion that African problems need to be solved by Africa and not necessarily the U.S., not the EU, not the United Nations. Africa needs to sit down, look at itself in the mirror and decide that, all of this has to stop. Because Africa doesn't go to help the U.S. or the UK to solve its problems. What do you think?
Well, no, there's a term used in the UN, which I was working in briefly, local led, local owned. And so you can apply that same principle to any country, Nigeria led, Nigeria owned. Is it SAPs, ironically called, and basically people saw them as being like a kind of debt trap. Maybe Nigeria, I can't remember exactly.
We did have that under military administration, yes.
Yeah, so a lot of people look at it as a neo form of colonialism, as a form of dominating, developing countries, the global south, from really developing fully because they want to obviously, retain that control over resources. Look at why France has been so interested in the francophone countries around the Sahel because of the potential of the Saharan pipeline, for example, which will come from Nigeria, obviously through Algeria, through I think Niger, or maybe Burkina Faso or Mali. So there is a lot of resentment among African nations, Nigerians, towards many foreign countries, the West. What I would say is, there's a neglect that I think is felt. When I use the Africa Summit, it's simply an example of these summits are meant to be ways for the international community, whatever that means, to come together and talk about specific issues. So America is a big country. It's, $22 trillion. It's going to be a major player that African countries want to engage. Now, I have spoken to colleagues and hosted them as well. And one of the things one of them told me is that Africa is much more about transactional relationships, right? So they don't want all this additional crap of, you've got to do it through these values and principles. We just want the pragmatic transactional relationship with X country, right? So why China's been popular with many African nations is because it's just like, okay, guys, here's a bunch of money or workers or whatever resources. We're going to build you a big infrastructure project, a port, a bridge, a dam, whatever it is. But we want to control that. There are lots of negative things about the BRI in China's aspects, but again, there is from an African perspective, and I also want to emphasize as well, I hate it when policymakers just talk about Africa in one big, like it's a massive continent of 50 plus nations. They don't all have the same agenda or perspectives. But if we're talking about, some people want Pan-Africanism and that sort of thing. But so let's say, Nigeria, you guys just want a simple relationship. You just want to trade. You just want to grow. You want to do your own thing. You don't want to be lectured to by the West or other nations. And that's where China's quite appealing. Russia's also had a lot of summits. But I think, for Nigeria specifically, you guys do value the democracy front. And in that case, countries like America and the Europeans are going to be countries that you want to, again, this isn't me prescribing, I'm just, sharing a perspective, you want to keep good relations with, or hopefully have good relations with, because you share similar values. What I would finally point out is, though, that India has taught us, just because you're a democracy, it doesn't mean that you're a Western-style democracy. So Nigeria has its own interpretation of democracy, right? And if British, American, whatever, Western countries look at Nigeria and they're like, not really sure we like X, Y, and Z. Well, okay, guys, you might not like it, but they've got a democracy. At least it's not a dictatorship. So stop being like, well, you should do a little bit more for the, the West can get too carried away. And in that regard, I completely understand why people are frustrated with it.
Great. I want to bring Lagos into this conversation. I'm sure a lot of people are listening and saying, I want to ask this guy some questions, or they just want to comment on how reflective, the democratic systems in the US might be on us, or if they could draw some similarities, or maybe we can just hope that one day we'd probably get to that point. But then, Lagos, I want to bring you into the conversation. 0700 993 993 993. That's 0700 993 993 993. If you're a lady, call 01 465 7190. Oh, that line stopped working. So everybody call 0700 993 993 993. And you can be part of the conversation via WhatsApp if you have questions, if you have comments. Please feel free to join the conversation and ask Pyotr any question, of course, especially about this issue of, the West and Africa's relationship. Hello, welcome to Hard Facts. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Kelvin, calling from Maja.
All right, Kelvin, go ahead, please.
This country, I don't know, but
Okay, Kelvin, I was almost certain that you did not necessarily know what you were going to say. Hello.